junker red ved juletid.
Ching chang ching-lu-ti-lej.
Og ring ham da med sneen hvid.
Ching chang ching-lu-ti-lej.
Welcome to the topic of the episode show, as we call it TOTES.
Yes.
This is TOTES, the weekly topic. We give you a subject, and then you talk about it with us, of what your favorites things. It's like coffee talk, but on the internet.
Exactly.
So we gave you a subject to talk about. This week was racing games and your favorite racing games. So we're gonna we have some answers from people on Twitter and Facebook. Anytime that we have these, which is every single week, we're gonna tweet them out on Fridays. Join in the conversation. You can obviously join in the conversation and the chat for YouTube and everything. But do join in on Twitter and Facebook, so that way we can talk about your favorites. And there's a lot of stuff that gets brought up that in some of these weeks that we don't know about, or we're like, oh, I remember that, and it's a really cool nostalgia trip sometimes.
Yeah, we've been talking this week about racing games.
Yeah.
And I have some of your comments here. So Alex Wooten says Cruising USA, and yeah, that's my favorite arcade one. I would say
So good.
Alex Kern says we get followed by Alex's. So if your name is Alex, then just please follow us everywhere.
You have to follow us, yeah.
Right. He says Gran Turismo is king easily, but Burnout is definitely my favorite arcade style racing game. I really enjoyed Project Cars 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's talking about Project Cars 2 or 2.
I'm going to assume that he means Project Cars, because he did say T-O.
But it would be funny for people who are listening, because they can't see it.
So
You ruined it.
I do find it funny that Alex Kern said that. Project Cars I get, but he didn't even mention Forza in there.
Yeah.
And he's a car guy, so that's why I'm surprised, because the amount of customization and tweaking you can do in that
Absolutely.
is really cool, which is why Forza is one of my favorites to play when it comes to the more simulation aspect of it. I can appreciate a game being more of a kart game, being more simulation, and Forza, I think, is probably the best when it comes to that. Being able to tweak little tiny bits for your car and make a rather mediocre car actually be able to keep up. It's pretty cool.
One of the other things that I really enjoy about that in Forza and Gran Turismo, like when it comes to the sim games, is that it allows you to slowly ramp up the difficulty.
Yeah.
Basically, because when you're driving around in that first Toyota little hatchback thing that they give you at the beginning, it's like, okay, I'm driving, and like you kind of get the basics of it, and then you're going a little bit faster. You're releasing the slip a little bit so that you can slide a little bit better. And so it's a really, really great built-in difficulty mechanic that kind of works with you, and as long as you're able to keep progressing, or as long as you're able to keep winning, it lets you keep progressing. But if you reach a point where you're like, okay, I don't quite have control of it, then you'll need to stay with that race or that sequence until you kind of get a better hang of it.
Yeah.
So I really like that aspect of Sims and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to arcade, like he said, arcade style Burnout is the best.
Yeah, it is.
And I love the way that they managed, even back in like PlayStation 2, it's like it still looks so gorgeous because everything is just flying by so fast.
Yeah.
And they did. So, even if you go back, and I have fairly recently gone back to a PlayStation 2 game, it still looks good just because everything's flying by so fast. You can't really tell that this is just a little JPEG on the side of the road or whatever.
Yeah.
But the frenetic pace of that race, I really enjoy.
I agree. I think that when it comes to kart racing, we all know Mario Kart Mario Kart perfected it. It's the reason we refer to it as a kart racer versus a simulation. I think Mario Kart's proven that it still remains king when it comes to that. I think that the great thing about Mario Kart is that its difficulty curve isn't crazy. You're able to jump in and be able to play rather standard or the lower CCs, and more casual people can jump in and really have fun.
Yeah.
And if you really want to get into the nuances and the more advanced stuff, not only ramping up the speed, but being able to use the brake and different drifting and aspects.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I like about it, is it's very much like chess or games like that, where it's like the rules are relatively straightforward. Mastering it is a completely different animal.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about Mario Kart.
Yeah. So what is your favorite Mario Kart?
Okay. So I know a lot of people like Double Dash, and I think that's your favorite.
Mine and Chris White also in the comments.
I Personally, I loved the Wii Mario Kart. I think that it hit a really good happy medium, and they've continued to basically run the Wii version, advanced versions of the Wii, the Wii template. I think that to me, I think it perfected a lot of things. I don't personally care too much for the battle modes. So when the Wii U version came out and it didn't have the battle modes and everything, I'm fine with that. Like, I don't need to I'm fine with hitting people with shells or getting hit with shells in a race environment.
Right, but that's not where you want the focus.
I didn't need a battle royale, so when it missed it on the Wii U, I didn't really care. I think that the new Mario Kart for the Switch they basically took that Wii U version and made it even better, and that's one thing that I like. I'd say the Wii version, but the new Switch version may be my favorite because it learned from mistakes and it's polished it, and that's what I really like about it. As much as I like Double Dash and everything like that, but another one that I wanted to throw in here because I know that everyone's been talking about racing games in regards to cars. But I think that the N64 snowboarding game, what was it called?
SSX.
SSX.
Yeah.
SSX was a blast. I consider that in this category because you're basically racing in that.
I mean, it's a downhill race, and it's whoever gets there first wins. That's the definition of a race.
Yeah. So honorary mention to SSX and Trials, because I really liked Trials Fusion and a few others that. It's not quite a race, but you are racing against other people's times. You're trying to get, different jumps and everything.
Yeah.
And it's a different style, similar to how Burnout is a different style of it. But I wanted to put that as an honorary mention because we could keep talking about Forzas and Gran Turismos, but those were a blast.
Yeah. And when it comes to off the ground stuff, you've also got the Sonic one, which is a lot of fun because that has a bunch of different
Sonic Racers. Yeah.
Yeah, because that has cars, that has boats, that has jets, planes, something. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Which Mario Kart basically took parts of, and we're like, hey, this is good.
Absolutely.
When Sonic Racers came out on the Xbox, I thought this isn't going to be that great, and I think I put in more time in that than I put in Mario Kart when I first got Mario Kart for Wii.
Yeah.
Because Mario Kart for Wii and Mario Kart in general, I think, is great for multiplayer, for having couch co-op and everything. But Sonic continued to pull me in a single player and as well as multiplayer aspect. But it was the drifting and the switching between cars, which I thought was right before that. I'd been playing the Transformers, the ones from Full Moon Games, that allowed you to transform from a robot into a car.
Yeah.
Or a plane, and it did it so smoothly that it wasn't jarring to your gameplay. You could continue to run forward as you changed, and the momentum stayed the same. It was really beautiful. And Sonic did that in regards to the game, in regards to racing, because you would transition from being in a car to going underwater or over water or flying, and it did it. And it continued the same momentum, and it didn't change your gameplay too much, where you're like, oh no, I'd have to do flying controls now. It was like, no, the controls are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything else. Just
including drifting. Drifting in a plane is something I haven't seen in another game. But if you want to kind of, balance those two out between above the ground and on the ground, you can be just above the ground. Play F-Zero X, which Chris Banks mentioned.
Yeah.
And I say F-Zero X because... I'm glad that they included F-Zero on the SNES Mini, but F-Zero X for me is my favorite, and Neo Geo Racing also on the Switch is pretty phenomenal. But F-Zero X is just one of my favorites, and it also allows me to introduce one of my favorite stories about racing. I think I've told this story before, but Chris Banks was playing the F-Zero game, got really frustrated, and he was like, dang it, and he hit a spoon that was in a bowl of dip, and the spoon went over into the corner, and then we didn't realize this till the next morning, but there was a trail of dip starting on the ceiling and going all the way down the wall, and it was pretty funny. So
I've thrown in one more story, or not story, but one more game, I should say.
Okay.
I know a lot of people like Twisted Metal. I go more old school than Twisted Metal, though. There's a game called Death Track, which I know I've mentioned on the show before. So Death Track was a DOS racing game. The graphics weren't great, but it was racing. It was like Mario Kart before Mario Kart, because you had more customization. You had a car, you could customize your transmission, your engine, your tires, and all these different things. But you could also add machine guns and rockets and to be able to attack other players. It was basically Death Race 2000 made into a video game.
Yeah.
You kept going through in regards to like circuits and trying to be the best racer. You would start, and if you got money from the race, you had to pay to repair your car. Mm-hmm. You could pay to to upgrade your engine and upgrade your transmission, all these aspects, or you could go offense or defense in regards to something that would stop incoming missiles, or a bomb that almost like acted like a skateboard that dropped behind your car and would blow up the car behind you.
That's cool.
So it was a really cool game. The graphics weren't very good. Had an amazing soundtrack, but it's old school DOS, so it's hard to get people into something like that. It's a game that I wish we had more of, because it was like a serious Mario Kart. It was almost Mad Max style, where it's like, you're going to do this race, and also people are going to try to kill you at the same time. And as opposed to the, I slipped on a banana peel, it was like, oh no, my tire got shot out.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. So I would like something more of a mix like that. Twisted Metal is getting closer, where it's like, hey, we're serious, kind of, and there's guns, but I would love those kind of consequences where you have to repair your car and continue the upkeep. Yeah. I would absolutely love that.
I don't know how serious you can call a game when it's got a guy who has wheels for hands.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I meant serious,
no,
gory.
I got you.
Dark.
But
I should have said more dark.
Yes. Definitely darker. Yeah.
So let us know in the comments what some of your favorite racing games are. Do you like the lighter side of gaming or racing gaming? Lighter side of racings? Yes. Or do you like the darker stuff?
Yeah. Light side or dark side? Yeah. Let us know in the comments.
White meat or dark meat? Later.